Welcome to Dove and Dragon Radio. I'm your host, M.l.Ruscsak. I'm here with special guest, David Meine, and his wonderful book, Eating to Live, and your wonderful wife, who is the certified nutritionist and behind this book. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So what gave you, I know you're a nutritionist, but what gave you the inspiration to put everything into the book?
So unfortunately, I have had a very miserable, painful, sick life, starting when I was a teenager, diagnosed with Crohn's and colitis, and then developed severe arthritis, back issues. 1999, got neuropathy in my feet that were very painful and burning. And then the ultimate scare, I got bladder cancer, ended up with 21 tumors that got removed over 3 separate surgeries, 2 rounds of chemo, and I was a mess. And so we started in 2018, we had an opportunity to work with a doctor that helped us look at my health a little differently. He has a restorative medicine practice, which is really different in this day and age. Mm-hmm. And he said that over the years, all these different doctors I was working with had put me on 5 separate medications for pain and all kinds of issues. And he said, we can, through nutrition, rebuild your immune system. And what we found out is I had a leaky gut, that substances and bacteria and food particles were getting through into my bloodstream and causing severe inflammation, which was compromising my immune system. And so Carla decided, and I decided to write this book in March of 2020, and she went back to school and got certified as a functional nutrition counselor. And so we started this journey of taking back my health, getting rid of all the medications. Everything's in remission. Cancer's in remission. My neuropathy and my feet's in remission. Arthritis in remission. Every single thing I'm doing now with just food and no pharmaceuticals or over-the-counter medications.
Well, that's wonderful, because what people don't realize is 95% of your health comes from your gut. If your gut's not happy or healthy, none of you is happy or healthy.
That's right.
That's right.
And there's so many supplements out there that say gut health. The probiotics, I don't know if you're Plexus, Probio, just to name a few. They're out there because if your gut's not happy, you're actually not doing anything for your health.
Exactly. So most people are suffering with some form of inflammation. They're going around and they're, because of the microbiome being compromised in their gut. Mm-hmm. And like David said, they have a leaky gut where things are getting through the intestinal wall that should not be. Only nutrients should be flowing through that intestinal wall, but particles are coming in and causing inflammation in various parts of their bodies. So it can be their brain, and they can have brain fog and memory issues, headaches, all kinds of things. It can be in their joints in the body, the achy joints. It can be in their bowels, so that they've got digestive issues, gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, a myriad of things. And it can even lead to, like David's, cancer or diabetes, or it can be something severe as an autoimmune condition. There are a lot of things that are caused from that. So most people are walking around with some form of inflammation, and if it gets big enough and bad enough, they're going to have an outward manifestation of that.
Right. And we go to our doctors. What do doctors do? We go, oh, here's a pill for this. Here's an antacid. Here's a injection. We have to remove A, B, or C. We don't talk about how to get your stomach healthy, because if your gut is not healthy, it's just going to go deteriorate more. We see this, change your diet. Okay, well, if you change your diet and you don't change the underlying condition, you're not doing anything.
Right.
Can I share something really interesting that we learned?
Sure.
I got on probiotics, prebiotics, another supplement that was supposed to repair my gut, and they didn't work. And the reason being is there are certain foods and certain beverages that contain certain things that will open up the lining in the small intestine. And once that permeability happens and those are open, that good bacteria and those things that those products are supposed to do won't work. So, for example, for me personally, I am not able to do gluten. Gluten has a spike protein that gets lodged in the intestinal wall and opens up those junctions. And so if you keep eating the bread, in my case, the gluten, it keeps that junction open, and you keep eating it, it keeps it open, and it doesn't matter. You can't stop the bad bacteria. You can't stop. I found out that I had a lot of food sensitivities that were getting into my bloodstream. Well, if you picture your immune system like the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, they're all fighting and attacking these particles. And what they do is they get overwhelmed, which compromises the immune system. So for me, and with Carla's help, we were able to find those foods that were getting through my leaky gut. And I just stopped eating those. And I couldn't, on some of them, I couldn't be 80-20 or 90-10. I had to be 100% compliant. Then guess what? My gut started healing. And then when I started using probiotics, right, and prebiotics and those things, they started working. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. I mean, I've been through medical conditions half my life. I mean, food sensitivities, in and out of the hospital. I mean, I've been through it. So I understand the whole gut health and needing to find what you're eating that's making your immune system worse. And for me, it was actually quit going to the doctors and quit taking the pills and experimenting with food to get healthy.
That's exactly what we did. And that's what the book's about, is that my health journey and connecting all these dots, and then working with Carla and her nutrition and 3 exceptional doctors that really led us and guide us, that are not, they don't prescribe, right? They're not into the medications. They're all about functional nutrition. And that is finding the foods and beverages that are going to create optimal health for you.
And that's different for everybody. And that's what I like about functional nutrition, is it doesn't sit here and say, you should eat this, you should drink this, you should do this. Functional nutrition says, you're the scientist, your body's the lab experiment, and you figure out what foods are causing inflammation in you. And when you eliminate those foods and add in foods that your body likes, you will see your health improve. Right. So it's individualized.
Right. It could be you need a vegetable fruit diet, and some people need a red meat diet. Some people, it depends on the person. You can't say, oh, I'm going to go do keto, or I'm going to go do a vegan diet, or it doesn't work that way. You have to find what works for you.
Exactly.
So
we know there's some foods that, like sugar, we know sugar causes inflammation, and there's no question about that. They've tried to, in the standard American diet is tried to say, oh, sugar's not that bad. But we know that sugar, because it's an anti-nutrient, it has been processed to the point it gives you no nutritional value, and it needs vitamins and minerals to steal from your bones and your blood and everything else to process it. So we know that one causes inflammation. And most people need to, reduce, if not eliminate, the bulk of their sugar, because that's going to cause inflammation. We know that.
Well, if you look at any diet, if you remove sugar, what do you automatically do? You lose weight. So you have all these commercials out there to do the sugar-free diets to lose weight. Well, what they're actually saying is you take the sugar out and you're reducing the water volume from the inflammation.
Exactly. Inflammation is the big culprit in why your cells, your immune system, like David says, is attacking itself. And so when you remove the sugar, the immune system takes a break and says, oh my gosh, we don't have to do all this work. And all of a sudden it can go to work repairing damage.
Mhm.
And that's when your cells release the water and the toxins and some of the crud that it's been holding on to. So you can see that's going to help lose weight, but we're not focused on that losing weight as much as we are on what's it going to take to get you healthy.
Right. I mean, we think that just because you're losing weight, you're getting healthy. This is an American mindset. If you lose
Right.
weight and you have a mass body index, BMI, of
Yep.
a certain point, then you're healthy. Well,
Right.
that's not generally what it is. You
Nope.
have to have your gut healthy, because you can have 200 different medical conditions going on, but your BMI is in the range, your weight is in the range. You
Yep.
eat healthy according to what a doctor says you should eat, to our food pyramids, but yet we're sick.
Yep. It's true.
So what health issues did you struggle with to get you interested in this?
Well, I've had gastro epilepsy. I have food sensitivities, like up the wazoo. Then in 2016, I wasn't keeping any food down, including water.
Oh no.
So, and 2011, I'm sorry, let's back up a little bit. And then we found out I ended up having 2 strokes and brain surgery because I have this mass that had to be removed. It was a arteriovenous malformation, AVM, but it's started with being found by my gut.
Yep.
Yes.
Exactly. And
Exactly.
people don't understand the connection. They don't know the importance of gut health. And that's really what we're trying to focus on, is what is it going to take to help make you have a healthy gut. And when you do, people are going to see increased energy, brain fog goes away, the joints feel better, their bowels work better. I mean, just everything starts working better when your gut's healthy.
Yeah, I see. I was going through pre-diabetes. So
Yeah.
what did I do? Take away the sugar, because, I don't want to get worse. My weight's fluctuating everywhere. Then I got down to, I can't eat anything. So we went from I can't eat anything to what can I eat?
Yeah.
And when you're being fed just liquids, you learn what you can and cannot eat.
Yeah.
That's where we've been. I had brain fog so bad.
I actually thought he was in early stage dementia, and the kids would come to me and say, is dad got dementia? Because he just repeated himself 3 times to us. Or we had a conversation and he says, we never talked about something, and we did. And I go, I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
And that's why when we get interviewed or we're on podcasts or we're with people, we really tell everybody what a walking miracle I am.
Mhm.
I mean, since you talked about all your food sensitivities, when we figured out I had 30 food sensitivities, things like we thought it would be great to eat salmon 3 days a week to get the omega-3s, right? And get the
Mhm.
omegas. And for me, that's a really bad thing. For her, it's great. But then we found out I can do spinach. She can't do spinach.
Mhm.
And these are good foods. These are good foods for you.
Right.
But we all have to figure out what foods work for us individually.
Exactly.
And he has a better memory than I do now. I mean, it's when he says I say that he's a walking miracle, not just his health, but seriously, there are times I just sit there and go, he will remember something and I go, wow, your memory has gotten better than mine.
Mhm.
And that's just in the last 3 years.
Yeah. See, I can't do anything that comes from water. So if it grows in water, I can't eat it.
Oh dear.
Wow.
So yeah, that's one of the sensitivities. It wasn't just salmon or tuna or shellfish. It's anything that comes from watery. So kale, I can't do kale, but I can do spinach. So
Wow.
each person has food sensitivities.
Yep.
We have to look at it from an individual point of view.
Right. And people are always struggling when I have a client and we take them on what we call an elimination protocol. So we eliminate all the highly inflammatory foods and they clear what we call clear the muddy waters.
Mhm.
And so then they start adding these foods back in one at a time and they go, I've always been able to eat gluten. I've always been able to eat peanut butter. Why am I having a problem with it now? Because they'll have skin or skin will break out in psoriasis or acne or something like that. And they'll immediately know. And I said, see, over time, your body has the problem that David talked about in the beginning. These foods have been getting through and now your body can't tolerate them. So yes, you could eat peanut butter before or gluten or sugar or whatever. And your immune system was solid and fine. But after a while, it just gets, they actually, in my schooling, they called it the shag carpeting, the villi that's along the intestinal wall. It gets worn down till it's Berber and, it just gets worn down. And then in our 40s, 50s, and 60s, we start having all these food sensitivities that we never had before.
I mean, we see this all over the place. We see how many kids are getting more and more food allergies now.
Early.
How many kids are, having brain fog or whatever.
Struggling with obesity.
Yeah.
And,
Have
diabetes.
this that we didn't have 50 years ago.
Exactly.
So we have to start looking at health from the stomach, not just what we're putting into it, but we have to look at the individual. What can we in truth eat?
Yep.
Well, and there's more to it than that. One of the doctors that we've been working with and what Carla's learned at her functional nutrition schooling is that most of the foods that we eat now they're deficient. So for me, I was deficient in vitamin D3. So I've had to add vitamin D3. I've added B12. I've added potassium. I've added omega-3s. And so vitamin C has been really critical. And I think what's so interesting is Carla and I have been so fortunate that we started this path in 2018, because when we moved into COVID in 2020, my immune system has just been supercharged, right?
Mhm.
And so when we were meeting with our doctor and we were looking at our vitamin D range, and we got in the discussion about COVID, what was interesting, he said, if you were to get COVID, right? He said, the odds for us both, because of the work we've done on our immune system, is that if we did get it, our symptoms would be very minor. So in 2020, March of 2020, I got COVID. I didn't know it. I didn't get tested. This last year in February, we happened to be doing a body scan, and they were offering a test to see if we had the antibodies for COVID.
Mhm.
And so we both took the test and we both had the antibodies, which means that we had COVID. And the only time I had been sick in all of 2020 and 2021 was March of 2020. So I must have gotten it there. And it was just like a minor flu.
Mhm.
Carla had, when you want to share with her what you had?
I just had one day of lost my voice and one day of congestion. And so I didn't think I'd had it. So the doctor was correct. He says, I don't think you'll get it, but if you do, you'll have minor symptoms because your vitamin D levels are so high and because your immune system is not so busy working on all the inflammation that it used to have to work on.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that's really our message to you and to all the people that listen to your show, is that really, as in America, I'm not going to talk about the rest of the world, but what if we all were focused on what do we got to do to build our immune systems? And the immune system comes from a healthy gut, like you've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And with a healthy gut, that means that we don't have the inflammation in our bloodstream that the immune system's fighting. And so if our immune system is not compromised and is super healthy, like Carla's and I are now, then we can battle these viruses as they come along.
Right. I mean, okay, you take your vitamins, I mean, 95% of Americans need to take vitamins anyways. We're deficient in something.
Right.
That's fact. I mean, you
Right.
go to any nutritionist, they're going to say you need to be at least a minimum a multivitamin. But we take it and we go, oh, if you're increasing your vitamin D, your vitamin C, you increase the immune system, you're not going to get sick like other people get sick.
It's true. It's proven that there's the especially vitamin D,
Mhm.
that if you're not deficient, if you can get that up so it's not deficient under 30, you won't get as sick. Even if you get something, you won't get as sick as if you're under 30. They've shown that.
Yeah, that's science right there.
Yep.
We
Yep.
ignore science in the media, but real science says
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
take your vitamins and you have a healthy immune system, you're not going to get sick with some of these other problems as you would someone
Right.
else.
Exactly.
And here's the thing that for me is I thought because I was eating dairy and I was eating salmon and I was eating wheat, things that have food sensitivities to,
Mhm.
I thought I'm doing the things I need to keep healthy. And it's just the opposite.
Mhm.
If I had thought, okay, why am I so sick all the time? Well, I trusted in doctors who have no nutritional
Background.
education
Not
or
much.
background.
Say not much.
Not much.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank
Don't
you.
say that. Yeah.
Not much. And they're trained to look at symptoms or do surgery and or give a prescription that might, help with the condition, but they never do things to help us solve. Not one time since 1999 have I ever had a doctor call up and go, David, you've been on Lyrica since 1999, and I think it's time for us to get you off that medication. Have you ever had anybody ever call you and say, we need to help you get off the
because that's
medication?
how big pharmacy makes their money. Here's
Exactly.
another pill. When you
Yep.
take Lyrica or gabapentin or, these other ones that I've been on, they want to keep you on them. They get you
Yep.
hooked on them. And then you're not thinking, hey, I want to get off them at some point. It doesn't matter if it's a probiotic that's prescribed, a neurological, pain blocker, a beta blocker, whatever the pill is, there is not a doctor out there saying, we're going to do this for a short term while we're finding out what's causing this symptom.
Exactly. They don't go to the root cause. They don't look at the root cause. And many times the pill that they give you has side effects that they
Mhm.
have to give you another pill for
Mhm.
to deal with. So most doctors, they've got patients, if they're over 50, on 7 to 15 medications. That's the average. And, nobody's trying to get them off of them. And so when we started working with a doctor that said, let's get you off these medications, we were like, woohoo, what can we do? David didn't think he'd be able to, just because he needed them to survive. But what he found out is once he removed the inflammation from his body, he didn't need the pain pills.
Mhm. In 2011, at the age of 28, I was on 15 prescriptions.
Oh my gosh. That's terrible.
We're so sorry.
Yeah.
And I looked at them one day, I got fed up, and I threw them all in the garbage.
Oh, you are lucky. I worked with each doctor and went off one at a time and did it over a time period. Oh my gosh, you're amazing if you were able to do that.
Yeah, well, probably wasn't the best thing to do, but at the same time, I do not say do this, but
No.
this is what I did because I was 28 years old. I'm mad because I'm on all these prescriptions. I'm in this mindset of I'm sick, I'm dying, I'm going to die anyways, and the pills don't make me feel better.
Yeah.
So that's where I was in 2011.
So you're a walking miracle too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you look at me, you can't tell I've had 3 strokes.
No.
I mean, at 28, you shouldn't be having strokes.
Right.
So, I threw all that away and I started working on food,
Good.
what I'm eating, because I have a little bit of a nutrition background from where I was in culinary arts, and part of culinary arts is learning nutrition and health.
Uh-huh.
So I had some of that background. So I was falling back on what I knew to be scientifically proven
Mm,
and started doing it myself.
good for you. That's awesome.
And that's sad that you and I and my wife, Carla, have had to do this on our own.
Mhm.
That there's nothing from the government that can help us. The doctors, they don't ever ask. When we were going through all my cancer issue, and all these tumors, 21 tumors over 2 years that grew in my bladder, no one ever sat and said, well, let's look at what you're eating. Let's see if what's causing the inflammation. Why isn't your immune system working properly? You never get those questions.
I had one doctor say, I bet you have an autoimmune deficiency somewhere.
Yep.
One doctor, and they never went any further than saying, I think.
Yeah.
And
And
that
then
was it.
they diagnose an autoimmune condition and just give you pills for that.
Yeah.
They still don't ever address the root cause of the autoimmune deficiency. They never talk about that, or rarely. You do find a doctor here and there, I shouldn't say, but you do find a doctor here and there. Well, and we certainly have found some really good doctors that have helped us for sure.
Sadly, you have to go into the Eastern medicine or
Mhm.
herbologic, I can't say the word.
You mean holistic?
Thank you.
Yep.
See, there's some words I can't say that,
That's
but
okay.
those are the doctors we need more of, because they don't do, here's a pill, call me in the morning.
Yep. Exactly.
So did you know in the early 1900s, throughout the United States, there was over 1,000 locations that did herbs and basically nutrition that was all taken out? And I won't share on your show on how that is. You can research that. But I was blown away where we were headed in the United States for working
natural medicine.
Natural, that was Eastern and everything. And there was a very systematic way of getting rid of all of that to what we have today with doctors who only prescribe.
And
and the sad thing is we're seeing that to come back up now, because people are getting so fed up with pharmaceutical, regardless if it's aspirin, Tylenol, or something you have to get prescribed to you. We're tired of being sick and tired.
Yep.
Exactly.
I had my Lyrica at one time, because of we had to change insurance, was going to cost me $700. It did. It cost us $700 a month. That was just for Lyrica. That I was also on Cymbalta, right? I can do duloxetine, and I can just go down all these medications they kept adding. And when I remember I was so upset, and my wife was like, why are you yelling? And I said, this is going to cost $700 a month for this prescription. And before, on my insurance, it was only $25, but our insurance changed.
I don't know why my phone, and I will bleep that out when we get it there. But it's the insurance companies, they don't pay for all the insurance. Then you go to the prescriptions, and if you buy a prescription here in the US, you can usually get it cheaper in Canada.
Yes. Or Mexico.
Or Mexico. Or anywhere else but
anywhere
the US.
else but the US. Yeah.
And if you have it sent in from these other countries, now it's against the law.
Well, and the other thing is they don't cover any supplementation. They don't cover any probiotics, anything that would get you healthy and get you off these medications. They will only cover prescribed medications that are only making things worse.
It is. And the thing is, the prescriptions that they have only make you worse. They don't fix anything. They mask what the problem is.
Yeah.
So true.
My dad, for his entire life, refused to take medications for more than 30 days. If the medicine isn't going to help me within 30 days, it's never going to help me.
Wow.
Great philosophy.
Yes.
And he would go back and forth with his doctors, but that's how he was. He would have pill bottles of brand new prescriptions everywhere in his house. And they would be decades old. Well, I was on this back in, here's the date I was on this pill. It didn't work. That would be how he did things. I was on that once. It didn't work. Find something else. And that was his philosophy. But at the same time, he had his foods that he ate. He would enjoy his alcohol beverages on his daily basis. And he lived his life the way he wanted to live.
Yeah.
So the second half of our book is about how Carla came up with 4 levels, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, that help people, nutrition, supplementation. I wrote a chapter on most people to get healthy have to come up with a really strong why. So for Carla and I, we blended 2 families together 20 years ago. So we're going to finish 20 years of marriage here soon. And we blended, she had 3 boys, I had 3 girls and a boy. And so we blended these families together. And so what's critical for us in this book is, for me and my why, is I want to celebrate. I was 45 years old when we got married. And so I want to celebrate our 50th anniversary. And I want to be my mind working clearly. I want my body to work right. I want to be able to dance with her. I want to be able to celebrate our 50th anniversary. And that's why I work so hard on my health.
So everybody has to come up with a strong why. And if they have a strong why, I'm sure, like you, where you didn't want to have strokes anymore and you made the decision you were going to take your health into your own hands, a strong why, then we have lots of ideas in the book of things they can do to improve their health, not just food, but also all kinds of things to improve their health, because sleep is critical foundation to health. And so it talks about lots of things like that, but they can choose some of the things to try, because every little bit of positive steps they make will make an overall difference in their life. So David started this section with find your why, and it's a really good section for people to spend time figuring out, why do I want to do this? Why is this important?
And when things go bad
or you get tough,
a lot of people do emotional eating, right? Or all the foods are designed to have high cravings. So if you try to get off of processed food, or you try to get off of gluten, you try to get off of a sugar beverage, the cravings are just unbelievable, right? And so, we try to help people with all those things. And I apologize. We've taken up all our time. I'm sorry.
No, it's perfectly fine, because this is one of those things that we have to tell people. There are ways to get healthy. There are ways to get off of those medicines. We have to start with diet. Then you hear people say exercise. Well, what does the exercise do but increase endorphins to make you feel good?
Right.
Yeah. And we have a part in the book on exercise and sleep and drinking more water and, dealing with stress, because we know that any kind of stress puts a lot of undue pressure on the digestive system and the gut. So stress has a really bad effect on the gut. So there's a whole, section, part 2 on all the different things that people can do to improve their health.
That is wonderful. Now, where can our viewers and listeners find you?
So they can go to eatingtolive.com and they can download our book for free. They can go to our website and there's a link they can click on and get the book if they'd like. The book's available on Amazon. It's also available on our website if they want a paperback book. We just spent a month, my wife and I, doing the narration, and we're waiting for it to come available on Audible. And we just so appreciate you bringing us on your show and being able to talk with you about our journey and to hear about your journey you're amazing. I can't believe you had a brain mass and that here you are being able to do this presentation with us.
Well, we are two walking miracles here today
Yep.
on the show. And I
Yep.
thank you very much for being on the show today, to both of you.
Thank
Thank you so very much.
And for all of our listeners and our viewers, happy reading.